Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. And since it's Freaky Friday, I thought I would highlight an Associated Press, activist post, right, AP, their piece, 20 declassified files that prove governmental crime and conspiracy. Ah, yes, that grand old word, conspiracy. It says declassified files are useful in a world where truth tellers and open-minded investigators are shut down, censored, and accused of being conspiracy theorists. Our world is fast becoming a digital censorship grid where corporate technological behemoths like Google, who of course owns YouTube, and Facebook's rig algorithms, which control, of course, search engine results and news feeds, to elevate the information they want you to see and bury the information they don't want you to see. Amazon, too, is in part a big part of this emerging multinational corporate technological oligarchy. And you may remember that they've been caught censoring books in the past, such as like No One Died at Sandy Hook by Jim Fetzer. The handy thing about declassifying docs is that they're genuine pieces of evidence. You know, a lot of people think that there's some validity when it comes from a government source. So there's some declassified files that I want to go over with you today. Thank you, Activist Post, for putting this out, as I believe they're extremely important to understanding how the system of government has been hijacked and how it really works. Because you have your government that you see on a day-to-day basis, and then you have your shadow government that makes all these crazy decisions that you'll hear now. The first one, of course, is Operation Paperclip. That's a fairly common one that a lot of people can understand, and they don't feel so uncomfortable buying into. The fact that Germany was well ahead of the science curve during World War II over the United States. And, well, heck, once we had Germany defeated and we set our sights on Japan, well, we just imported all the German scientists. I mean, come on. It's a no-brainer, right? Just think that World War II ended with the defeat of the Nazis. No, think again. They didn't get defeated. They just went south, to Argentina and joined the ranks of their conquerors, USA, UK, and Russia, in a dirty deal of legal immunity for inside information. That's right. The German scientists, technicians, and engineers had made brilliant and groundbreaking advances in the fields in the lead up to and during the war, and the victors didn't really have a moral problem with the Nazis' weapons of destruction. Let's not also forget, since we're talking conspiracy theories, you had things that the Nazis were employing like Foo Fighters, these glowing orbs that would go and harass the bombers, the B-17s, that were flying missions over Germany. These glowing orbs, what they think was orbs of rotating mercury, something that was used in the Nazi Bell experiments, which, by the way, the Nazi Bell was taken back and brought over to the United States for further research. There's an interesting conspiracy theory there. Just look up Nazi Bell. Now, the U.S. got a sizable portion of these Nazi scientists, around 1,500, and they were smuggled into NASA and the CIA, where some of them, such as like Werner von Braun, recognize that name, went on to make quite a name for themselves. Thus, the U.S. willingly allowed its military and intelligence agencies to be infected with Nazi ideology, which is what you see today, basically. That's what you have driving all of this global push, the neocon stuff. This is all a result of importing that ideology along with people here that were sympathetic to it in the United States. Like, for example, Prescott Bush, the father of George H.W. Bush, the grandfather of George W. Bush, was a huge Nazi supporter. As a matter of fact, it was during World War II that he had all his assets seized under the Trading with the Enemies Act because of his support of Adolf Hitler. And, of course, it was all swept under the rug because this guy also founded the USO. And by God, how could you put the founder of the USO in jail? I mean, that's crazy. So under the rug it went. Other declassified files that have now come out was the escape of Hitler and other Nazis to Argentina. Okay, so it's already been proven that Hitler's DNA is not where they say it was. That the bones that were discovered in the courtyard where they say they burned his body and Eva Braun's body wasn't Eva Braun's, and it wasn't Adolf Hitler's that were burned. DNA evidence concludes that that is the case. So, of course, you know, the mainstream narrative is he committed suicide in his bunker. Now, there's a book out called Hitler in Argentina, The Documented Truth of Hitler's Escape from Berlin by Harry Cooper. And that produced a slew of astounding evidence that Hitler and other top Nazis like Martin Bormann traveled in German submarines all the way to Argentina. And some of the evidence is true because the documents used to confirm that that happened was FBI declassified documents. So, I mean, of course, now it has to be true. The government just gave us a source. They even knew the submarine number U-530. U-530. So, interestingly enough, Hitler didn't die there. He escaped. He grew old down in South America. Another declassified file, Operation Northwoods. Now, if you don't know what Operation Northwood, this is in the tinfoil hat community. I'm sorry, I don't have my tinfoil hat on right now. Operation Northwoods is a pretty big deal because it really is one of the most clear-cut documents that speak directly of a false flag of our government planning a false flag attack on our own country and blaming it on Cuba. Of course, this was during 1962. Now, in its own words, the document states that a series of well-coordinated incidents will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces. And this was all about, okay, we set stuff up at Guantanamo, so it looks like they're attacking us. Then we bomb Miami. We do all this kind of stuff. We blame it on the Cubans, and that gives us the legitimacy to go and invade Cuba and kick the Russians out. Well, JFK didn't buy it, didn't want to do it. I think that was another nail in the coffin for him when he handled the Cuban Missile Crisis the way he did, among many other things. So Operation Northwoods, check it out. How about COINTELPRO? You often hear that term thrown around. And there are declassified files on that, too. It says COINTELPRO has become a famous word of its own, derived from the full operational name Counterintelligence Program. Yes, this was a program run by the FBI under Hoover, which started in 1956. COINTELPRO is a series of undercover operations that targeted people and groups the U.S. government deemed were a problem. Kind of like the Red Scare and the Communist Party infiltration and other far-left groups and civil rights groups and far-right groups. And individual activists like Martin Luther King? Now, the scope of this operation, COINTELPRO, was broad. It involved monitoring, surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting. And Attorney General Robert Kennedy authorized some spying, and the FBI was given an inch and took a mile. Much like today's spy agencies, clearly overstepping the bounds of legality, it became a way for the government to intimidate and stifle dissidents. Much like you see going on right now down in Venezuela, it happens here all the time. And now, because you have a government-private partnership with social media, because that's what it is, it's hand in hand with the CIA, now you have these social media platforms that were grown with seed money from CIA front companies and other companies that are sympathetic to this cause. They go and stifle dissent by censoring and limiting the reach of people on these social media platforms. I mean, it's an unbelievable operation. It's going on more today than it ever has before. Counterintelligence. Finally, Operation Mockingbird. Mainstream media. Mainstream media. CIA infiltrated the mainstream media. This, of course, started back in the 50s under CIA Director Allen Dulles. And the declassified files, most are classified and secret, but there are some show how the CIA infiltrated the mainstream media and had its pieces inserted into TVs, newspapers, and journals everywhere as news when it was nothing more than propaganda and lies. This, of course, was exposed during the 1975 Church Committee hearings. And if anybody hasn't watched the Church Committee hearings, you got to do it. I mean, unbelievable. Not quite as entertaining as the Watergate hearings, but still. Pivotal information came out about MK Ultra, about Operation Mockingbird, and about how the clandestine operations were operating in the United States. Heck, more than they were operating overseas. It was pretty bad. And of course, nothing came of it, and everything got swept under the rug. And they're still doing it, and doing it more than they ever have before. So those are a couple of declassified conspiracy theories that have since been proven, and thought you might find it interesting. Get some research on, and I will talk to you again very soon. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day.